interesting because Arlene says that she fell into this profession by accident. Arlene discovered that, you know, this path is really her calling. So when I read her background, I found it really similar to myself as well. And maybe that is something that you want to consider, you know, in terms of discovering what's next if you are at a mid-career juncture. So Arlene continued this journey, the career journey in recruitment within various industries. She started out as a researcher doing a lot of due diligence work. And then she actually moved on to be a consultant in an executive recruitment firm before moving into an in-house recruitment role. That's really cool because she gets to see the entire spectrum of how the recruitment industry is being played out. And she has also helped build teams during the company's hyper growth period, you know, when there's shortage of talent. She is currently a recruiting manager with Amazon Web Services, so it's such a privilege to have her here. She's leading an APJC team to hire and develop the best, and also for a number of strategic businesses. So I'll leave her to share with you where are the areas of growth and how I hope you can find a match between what you are pursuing and also what Amazon is offering. Now, Arlene has a very interesting persona because she is a firm believer of diversity. The first time when I met her, she is such an approachable person. And I know immediately that this is someone that I really want to keep in touch with. What's really nice is while she's not working, she enjoys horse riding. I didn't know about this, Arlene, for the years that I've known you. Such a bad friend.
Well,
yeah. But it's interesting, yeah. So you enjoy watching all that Insta story, I suppose TikTok as well. Okay, and okay, I think you've got, well, I know you're so humble. You say you don't have green fingers, but yeah, me included. Okay, so you know how to get her. What's interesting, which I didn't emphasize here, is when I met Arlene, she was with LinkedIn. And I'm so happy that we kept in touch. Today, Arlene is going to be sharing with us, do employers prefer candidates to customize their CV? Over to you. I'm just going to stop share, Arlene.
First and foremost, I do want to thank, Eileen and WSG for inviting me for this session. I've been looking forward to it, and also looking forward to meeting everyone. So a topic very close to my heart, actually, CV do's and don'ts, mostly because I'm in recruitment and, I want to see people be successful. That initial pathway to success to your job search journey starts really with the CV. That's, of course, after the accumulation of experiences that you've had. So I will start off by telling you a little bit about the company that I work with right now. I'm currently with Amazon Web Services. I've been here for almost 4 years now. I'm thoroughly enjoying myself. And, I'm sure the name is not unfamiliar to many of you. And hopefully you're also using our solutions and our products. So who is Amazon? We are, as a company, many things actually. I should say that we are guided by our 4 principles, being customer obsession, passion for invention, commitment to operational excellence, and long-term thinking. So, I can say some of the things that Amazon has pioneered includes Kindle, Amazon Store, the just walk out technology, the Amazon Go, which I hope someday will come to Singapore very soon. For those of you who may not be as familiar, it's a technology that allows you to just go into the store, pick up what you want, and walk out of the store without having to go through a cashier, without having to tap your credit card. The minute you walk out, you're charged for the products.
I can't wait. I know.
Or maybe not for those with young kids who might decide to take a couple of additional things home. And of course, we also pioneered Amazon Studios. So if you've watched Prime Video, that's an Amazon product, and Amazon Web Services, the company that I work for. So at Amazon Web Services, we are, the world's most comprehensive and broadly adopted cloud platform. We offer over 200 fully featured services from data centers globally. Millions of companies, from startups to large enterprises to leading government agencies, are using Amazon to lower their costs, become more agile, and innovate faster. So that takes me, sort of slowly sliding into our main topic conversation, right? In my capacity here as a recruiter and a recruiting manager in Amazon, I often get questions from friends and candidates or people that I meet at networking events. Is AWS only for tech professionals? And so, I always smile and I say, no, it is not just for tech professionals. Yes, we are in a technology space, but we recruit across a large variety of functions and different job families. For example, we hire sales reps, solutions architects, customer solutions managers, but we also hire program managers, operations specialists, executive assistants as well, sales, operations and strategy folks. We also hire business development. So there is a large, I think, a breadth of different functions that AWS hires for. We also hire a diverse slate of individuals, from fresh graduates through to experienced hires. We've hired returners to the workforce as well. So yeah, I'm very proud to say that, we have a great diversity in our workforce representation. So let me use this opportunity to then, so move into our topic closer. So ARLENE, if you can just skip a couple of slides.
Okay, so I such a bad help. I'm like trying to catch your cue, and then I'm thinking, oh gosh, I'm so terrible. All right, just shout out.
Don't worry, thank you. So, so when I say, we hire a variety of people, or rather we hire a large number of the various functions, I do get people ask me, well, why is it I've sent my application not just to AWS, but other companies as well, sometimes to multiple roles, and I haven't heard back from any of these companies. Or I do get questions, so I do not have any data center operations experience. Is this going to stop me from being considered for the role? So my answer to that is, as I said earlier, an important part of your job search journey actually begins with your CV. So having the right amount and the appropriate information in your CV or resume is really going to set you up for success, give you that foundation. So today I'm going to talk about some of the CV do's and, some sort of tips on how to avoid pitfalls in writing your CV. So it can get pretty lonesome in a seminar situation. So I'm very glad that, this session that I'm in today, there's a lot of active participation from the audience. We will have some polls along the way. So I encourage you to please participate because, I'm very interested to hear your views and the answers that you give can also help me to determine, what you'd like to hear. Let me, at the end of this session, my hope is that you'll be able to build a CV that is yours, that you own, and personalize it, and be able to use these tips, to engage your audience, people who are reviewing your resumes.
Right. Should I be moving?
Yes.
Like I said again, terrible.
I won't read through all of this. Right. At a high level, this is the agenda for today. Let's move on to owning your CV. And ARLENE alluded to, CV writing and representation earlier on when she was, kicking off this session. So as your CV is actually a representation of your professional self. As you look at the information I put here, how I like to bucket it is there are essentials, qualifications, and the skills and notable things about yourself. Do you need to have all of these in your CV? Ideally. And how you structure it, which should come first, it depends. There is no set rule, but we'll talk about the formats in a short while. So the way I see it is, your job search is like a little obstacle course, maybe like an IBP test. So your CV, your CV is your key card to tapping that door of opportunity. But once you're in there, you still need to pass some tests, and you still need to demonstrate your skills and your abilities. So I must say that, CV is important, but having a great CV is just part of the entire journey. It does not guarantee success, because there is still other parts of success. I'm sure ARLENE will have more sessions in future to talk about the other the other parts of the journey.
Indeed.
So coming back to owning a CV, essentials are important. And other than contact information, one thing I'll highlight is have a little summary about yourself. But it's important to keep this, it's a summary, so keep it concise, like less than 100 words, about, a little bit about what you aspire to, where your, key skills and strengths are, and what you hope to do in your next role. And then, of course, there's the work history portion. On qualifications, what do you need to add in there? I'd say it depends on where you are in your career journey. If you're a fresh grad starting out, then obviously, where your university degree is going to be important. Some of you may want to add pre-university education as well, if you feel that's something important. Some of you may have gone into polytechnic before you went to university, so add that in, that's important. But as you progress along in your career, and if you're an experienced professional, my advice is you can leave out anything that is before tertiary education. Really, it doesn't hold, employers will not hold it against you if you do not add in, secondary school qualifications, for example, and so on. Accreditations are important. If you are, in a specific profession where the accreditations are going to be a factor for the company to decide if you could have qualifications for the role. Example, certified public accountants, CPA. If you're applying for a role where the CPA qualification is required because there are regulatory, requirements that company needs to adhere to, then yes, that's going to be important. Please put that in. And on skills, notables, these are soft skills. I think is can say it's subjective, because through feedback given to you, through your own experience, you determine what are your soft skills and how you want to present it in your CV. Technical skills as well. I think technical skills is a little more clear-cut sometimes, because it's either you've got coding skills or not. And then, of course, accomplishments. By that, it will probably be if you've earned a specific award in the company that's notable. So we'll move on to CV formats. ARLENE had mentioned the formats of CV briefly earlier. So I won't go into too much details in the chronological. It's, quite clear that it's about the work history. The one thing I will say about chronological is, if there are career gaps in your CV, chronological order may make it more visible. Now, that's not to say we want to hide anything, but really it depends on what you are going for and what you, are aspiring to do. If the job that you're applying for, you may not have as much work experience, but you have the right skill sets, then perhaps the CV format you want to use is a functional CV. And ARLENE had showed that earlier, where her resume had these keywords highlighted. There are functional skills and competencies. So you can use that format as well. Must it be one or the other? The answer is no. You can have a combined CV as well, where maybe you want to highlight your skills first, but it's important still to have your career work history in the resume. There is another one called mini resume, or a summary, and it's a one-pager, brief history of your career highlights and qualification. Typically, this will be used if you are, going into a networking session, or if you are meeting somebody, but not necessarily applying for a role yet, or you just want to have a sort of bio, so it gives people a perspective of who you are. Used to be in the old days, we'll carry the one pager, and then when we go to job fairs, we might hand it out to prospective employers. But we are living in a digital world now, so I highly recommend that everyone goes digital and create your LinkedIn profile. And I'll talk a little bit more about the LinkedIn profile later on. So help me out, folks. Poll questions. Do you think employers prefer candidates to customize their CV?
Yep, I've launched the poll. So we've got over 315 of you here in the webinar. So let's see. Very nice. I think you're getting quite quick answers already. So the first question is, do you think that employers prefer candidates to customize their CV? Yes or no? I used to give them 3 choices. The third one is not sure. Sitting on the fence, But I like how you did it, right? That's why you're the recruiting manager. It's like, don't waste my time. Just tell me.
So while waiting for people, I see, Feng Chin and ask mini resume. It's you can think of it as a summary of your career history. So earlier on, ARLENE had showed a bio of myself. That can be a mini resume. I would, however, add a little bit more there and really list out some of the companies I've been in. I had tried to shorten it so that it's easy on the eyes in a virtual seminar, but that's an example of a mini resume. Just a summary of where you've worked, what your skill sets are, what your strengths are.
Yeah, cool. So we've got 76% have voted already. As soon as you finish, there are more people who actually started to vote as well. So maybe we can close. It's 77%, and that's like 240 over people have voted.
I give your question. I will come to that in a short while under the do's and don'ts.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to close now. So closing and sharing the results with everyone, of course. Yeah. So here are the results. Okay, so here are the results. We've got 92% who said yes. So yes, we should be customizing. All right. Whew. And then, but 8% says no. And also, and 92%, I mean 227 of us here. And also the second question is, do you think employers read the full CV? So 90% says no. So 10% says yeah. What do you think? What's the answer?
This is interesting. Tells me I think the perception of job applicants in general, or even if you're not a job applicant, right? It tells me a bit of that perception you have of employers. So on the first one, should you customize? It's an individual's decision and choice at the end of the day. Personally, I think it's important to customize it to a certain extent. I can understand some concerns that people may have. I'm an active job seeker. If I were to customize every single one of my CV to different employers, how much time is that going to take? And, I'm not sure if I'm able to do that. Certain customization will help you because I'll share what I mean by that. In my recruiting history, I've seen CVs that are not customized, and basically somebody has, a candidate that I encountered had applied to the company I was with, but because didn't customize the job title, like the individual had a cover letter. Dear so-and-so, I'm applying for the role of let's say, it's an account manager or a sales manager. But But because there was no customization, and I can tell that this person had basically mass sent out the resume. The job title was entirely different. In an extreme case, I've also experienced where the company name was the wrong one. I was a bit disheartened, to be honest, because the impression that you can create by not really paying attention to reading your resume before you send it out or customizing it can lead to a prospective employer who might have brought you in to interview start to have that lack of trust, because if you're not sending in a resume addressed to the right company, how do I know that you would be equally detailed? How would I know you'd be detailed or in your role if I were to hire you? Or that you sort of see that doubt, right? Is this person going to be someone who makes errors or doesn't think through? So don't allow that to happen because of haste. Especially, yeah. So addressing the second one, do you think employers read the full CV?
Drum roll.
The honest truth is, it will be difficult for employers or interviewers or recruiters, for that matter, to read everyone's full CV.
Yeah.
But eventually, somebody will be reading your full CV when you get shortlisted. So, while you may think, people don't read the full CV, maybe I'll just write something which is very general. At the end of the day, if you are selected or shortlisted, the person at the end and all the other interviewers who are interviewing you will read your full CV. And so you want to ensure that you go in with the best representation of yourself.
Very nice. There's actually a burning question since you mentioned about cover letter. Someone asked, Wyson asked, is it a must to have a cover letter? What's your recommendation?
This is my personal opinion too, based on what I prefer to see or what I see has worked. Is rather than a cover letter, maybe a short summary of yourself at the top of your CV. And I say this because when employers are in a situation where they have hundreds of applicants that they need to go through, it's really hard to read every single cover letter. And so to capture the attention of the prospective employer, keep it to a short summary.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Well, I'm going to put on my inclusion diversity hat here and say that a degree, regardless how it's been obtained from a recognized establishment, should never be considered second class.
Okay, that's a quick answer to the question there. Very nice. Very good. We are so dynamic, yeah.
Yeah, I would be disappointed if recruiters or interviewers or hiring managers view it as second class. There are many reasons why people choose not to take a local university degree or need to do it long distance, and I don't think that should be a barrier.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, shall I move on to the next slide?
Yes, please. So nicely moves on to the CV do's and don'ts. Let's look at this now. These are just some quick tips. Many more here, but I think these are the key ones which are important. I see often sometimes this doesn't get done, and it's really a big shame because the individual may have excellent skills and experience. The first one is really funny. I know it sounds very silly, ensure your contact details are there. I can tell you I had a resume from an applicant before. Fantastic profile. I was so excited. And then I couldn't find the contact details.
No way.
No, yes, it happened. No email, no mobile number. So I had to do a little bit of CSI to go find that person. So, remember your contact details, and ensure that you have updated your contact details. Sometimes we change email addresses and we forget to update that on our CV. Then keeping it concise is and clear is important. So Peggy, earlier you mentioned, should it be bullet or should I write paragraphs? bullet points are acceptable for a CV, and I think it allows you to allows your CV to pop a little more, because it's just simple, right? If you think about even yourself, if you were to read a document really quickly, is it easier for you to read something in bullet points, or something which is in long form narrative? I also wanted to touch on use industry lingo, especially if I mean, it will come naturally to you if you've been in that industry for a number of years now. The industry lingo will come through. I will caution that try not to use abbreviations in your CV. Have an explanation of what the abbreviation means. If the reason is because the first person who picks up your resume may not be the industry expert. And so they are reviewing the resume based on trying to understand if you are qualified for the role, do you match the role requirements? So help them along by writing the long form, and you can add the abbreviations later on for the rest of the document. But use industry lingo because it helps you to connect with your interviewer. It helps you to connect with the person looking at your CV. When they see it, as an example, right, if you were applying for a role in accounting, use relevant words, financial analyst, accounts payable, accounts receivable. Or if you're applying for a data analyst role, list out your skills, like, structured query language, SQL, or Python, or business intelligence tools, and give examples of the business intelligence tools that you are familiar with. It helps you to connect with the interviewer.
Hey, very nice.
Yeah.
There was a quick question. How many pages do you recommend? Since we have the do's.
Yes, okay. In spirit of keeping it concise and clear, I think, if you can put everything into a 2-pager, that's ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's ideal. But I recognize some people will have projects that they want to list and achievements. I think maximum 3. Any more than that, it becomes overly lengthy. Have a little story to share there as well, where I received the CV, which took me a pretty, it essentially was a pretty long CV that was about 8 pages long. Because the person is a project consultant, they start all the projects, but gave details of the project, and it was really difficult to go through all of it. And you might lose the attention of the individual. I mean, of the hiring manager or the recruiter.
Yeah.
Can we ignore some work experience? Yes, Lena, I would say yes, you can. For typically what you might want to do is highlight the most recent experiences and have the bullet points on what your role scope was, what were the key highlights of what you've done. And, the earlier part of your experience, do not leave it out because it is important, but rather than write a summary or, details of every single one of your work experience, you might just want to headline where you worked and for how long and what role you were in.
Okay, I'm going to squeeze in this one question because I see this question appear in almost every single webinar, almost. And the question is, should we even put our age on the CV, especially when they are above 45?
Regardless what age you are, don't put your age on the CV.
Yeah, I know.
It's not relevant to the skills and competencies that you have. And I will say this, there are, those who may have 20 plus years work experience, myself. It doesn't mean that I am, 20 plus years more experience or 10 plus years more experience and competent in my job versus someone who's 10 years my junior in age.
Yeah.
It depends on what you've done, what the individual has done in their career.
Very nice. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's move.
Photo. I wanted to talk about that too. So thank you, SP Go, for mentioning that. I do not think it's necessary, and I think it detracts people from actually reading your CV for your experience and your skills. However, you know, we do put a photo on LinkedIn because that's our professional representation of ourselves. You know, that's how we want to appear to, it may not be employers, it may also be your followers, you know, your network. So in that circumstance, I would say, yes, put a photo in because it allows people to see who you are. And if you had to put a photo on LinkedIn, which I recommend, you know, my strong recommendation is you do not need necessarily to have those professional taken photo with studio lights and everything. That's not needed. But have a photo that is a representation of you from a professional front. You know, I've seen some photos where people have taken themselves in a party setting, you know, beer glass and so on. Nothing wrong with those photos, but maybe not so great for the professional setting.
Yeah, yeah, it's got to be relevant for the role, right? And also,
yes.
what's that best version? And it doesn't have to be like studio lighting.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. Now, hey, you know, if your job is entertainer at a kids party, by all means, ham it up and you know, make it a fun photo because that's your job. I see a couple of really interesting questions and I want to address those rather than worry about the slides. One is, how do we handle gaps in career history due to medical reasons? Okay, I was going to touch on it too, actually on the Be Truthful, you know, part where people can, I mean, it's not uncommon to have gaps in career or work history. And regardless whether it's due to medical reason, family reasons, you know, it happens. So how do you handle that? If there is a gap and you're using a chronological CV, right, then it will be visible. And I can tell you from experience, you know, hiring managers may pick up and say, oh, what did this person do between this year to that year? And you want them not to pass you over without having spoken to you. I suggest you just own it and put there, you know, so that you can address that gap. I do not think you need to give very detailed reasons. It's very personal, but you may want to, for example, say, you know, took 2 years gap to take care of the family, or took 2 years gap owing to, you know, if it's medical, you don't need to state what the details of the medical condition is, but you may wish to say that, you know, you had to take medical leave. So some people may say took 2 years or 1 year for sabbatical. Whether they went traveling during the sabbatical, they were knitting, you know, or tending to the garden, it doesn't matter. But that helps to address some concerns, or sort of, you know, hiring managers may wonder why this person has not worked this time. Trying to see here. Wow, there's a lot of questions. Eileen, I will sort of go through some of them and then we can come.
Yeah, there are lots of questions.
Yeah. Should we date our birth on CV? I don't think that's necessary unless you're expecting a birthday present from your interviewer.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, try not to unless it is a specified requirement in a job advert, you know. So whatever they ask for in a job advert, just answer those. Yeah.
Application form perhaps is where you need to put it in. Yeah. I would say, yeah. Someone had a question around being asked a question on energy level, and we'll come back to that in a short while because I have some things to say there, you know. But let's go through CV do's and don'ts first.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Recent short working periods. If it's contract roles that you've been in, you know, Ziping, definitely put in this was a contract role. And there are people who prefer to take contract roles. Again, nothing, personal circumstance, maybe they need flexibility because, you know, they have to take care of the family and so on. That's up to them. So fresh grad with no experience, Kaijia, are you asking about what do you do with your CV if you're a fresh grad with no experience? If so, the recommendation I can give you is you may not have work experience, but if you do have internship experience, absolutely put that in. you know, that will be considered work history as well. If you haven't had an opportunity to intern, you know, then maybe for your CV, your education comes first, as opposed to work history first. And if there was any other extracurricular activities you were involved in, you know, in school that you feel are notable, maybe, you know, you had been in charge of year-end graduation ceremony, you know, you were leading a specific curricular group, then that's something you can put in as well. And of course, maybe on the side, you have taken some additional courses that gives you skills that you can emphasize in the CV, do so.
Yeah, cool. Shall I move to what?
Yes, let's go to this.
There are a few questions which I think, because I kind of peeked at your slide, so you might have your answers there.
Okay, so what to avoid? I think we talked about this already, so I won't dwell on it. Avoid using long paragraphs, really hard to read, and you know, when the time crunch, you might just disadvantage yourself. Do not list too many projects or job responsibilities. So you want your details to be remembered, and you want the highlights to be remembered. So don't put down every single project you've ever done in your entire career, because you know, there will be many, I'm sure. Just pick one or two, which, if you imagine yourself in an interview situation and visualize you're there already having an interview, and the interviewer asks you, tell me about the most innovative thing you've done in the last 5 years. Tell me about the most impactful project you've done in the last X years. That's what you want to put in your CV. And the next point is important. You know, please do not add in anything in your CV that is considered breach of confidentiality. If you're a salesperson, do not put down the quota that you were responsible for, unless you know with certainty that it is no problem for your, you know, with your current employer or ex-employer.
Permission, right? Yeah.
Yes. Typically, I think a rule of thumb is, you know, if you are going to say, I was lead in project X, if that project X is publicly available, yes, you can say that you led project X, because, you know, it is a public known information. But should you say, I led project X and I saved customer $100,000 a year? No, probably not to that detail.
Unless you put in bracket with permission and well, and then you're going to be using up more real estate.
Yeah, you may not know, but invariably everyone will have signed some kind of confidentiality indemnity clause when you joined your previous or current employer. So you know, don't get yourself into hot soup.
Yay.
Yeah. Oh, this one I've seen before as well, where, you know, I've had applicants send their CV over and I said, doesn't this look like a job description?
I know, cut and paste.
So please don't do that. You know, again, back to Eileen's point, real estate is important. If you're going to keep it to a 2-pager and you're going to copy your job description in, there's no space for any other experience anymore.
I think there's also a similar question being asked in Menti as well as in chat is it good or bad to include reason for leaving?
I do not think that that's necessarily relevant in a CV yet. In an interview situation, you may be asked, so be prepared with a response. Yeah.
Okay, very nice. And I see Edwin typing this in Menti and also in chat, so I'll just read it out. Edwin said, I've applied for a sales job in AWS, but no success, even though I have over 15 years of Apex sales experience selling tech solution. What could be the reason? Are you sure you want to ask this webinar? I know Edwin, you see. You should connect.
Maybe Edwin, we need to have offline conversation, because without your CV, I can't really tell. There are a lot of factors, right? AWS or otherwise, where, you know, why am I not called? CV is just part of it. The other could be just, what is that opportunity, the requirement of that opportunity versus, you know, the skills experience that you have currently. But I can tell you that, you know, I've had a number of hires who told me they have tried, you know, applying to AWS several times before they were successful. And I'm not saying this in a boastful manner for sure, please don't get me wrong. But what I'm trying to say is that sometimes it's also a matter of the opportunity at hand, timing. And what's also important, we will touch on later in LinkedIn, is, you know, having a digital profile, being able to use that to connect to various individuals. Because again, like I said, CV is just one part of that career journey or that job seeking journey. There are many other different factors that can help you land the job that you want.
Very nice. Okay. So, okay, I think most of the questions are answered already. Yeah. Should we put out the next poll?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got the next poll coming up, and I think it's such an important question, the next poll. Okay. So the question goes, how many of you have a LinkedIn profile? Remember where ARLENE used to work? Yeah. So she has pledged allegiance. And then also the second question is, do you think recruiters and employers use LinkedIn profiles to find their next great hire? Yes or no? Wow, this is fast now, right? So this is, we've got 60%, over 60%. So what do you guys think? Okay, so about 67%. I'm just going to end the poll here and then share the results. So the results show that 75% of those who responded say, yes, they have. But there's a good 25% who don't have. So that's like, you know, over 50 of you as well. And for those of you who responded, even though we've got over 320 of you here. Okay, so the second one is, do you think the recruiters use it? Good news is 90% of them say yes, but there's a good 11% who don't think so. Okay, what's the verdict? What's your view?
Okay, so on LinkedIn profile, we'll come back to you, those who say no, to see if we can convert you. But in all seriousness, I think I have to say, you know, where I come from here is there are, if you think about the data, there are almost 740 million members globally, right, on LinkedIn. Yeah, and 55 million registered companies. So these are companies with a company profile on LinkedIn, 55 million globally. That's a lot of companies. Although this is not necessarily an indication of how many companies are using LinkedIn for, you know, identifying their next hire, we can deduce from the numbers here that a large number of recruiters are using LinkedIn. You know, and if a company is has created a LinkedIn page for themselves, there's a good chance their recruiters or their HR team is also using LinkedIn in some shape, form or other. It may not be the only way they find, you know, candidates, but certainly one of the ways. So brings me to, you know, do employers use LinkedIn? Teddy is so funny. LinkedIn mentioned so many times, yes, please try to create a profile. They've made it very easy now with some help for, you know, new members on how to create a profile. So coming back to this, do recruiters use LinkedIn? Yes, recruiters do use LinkedIn. Not all recruiters. I don't want to sweepingly say every single recruiter out there is using LinkedIn, because there are some who are still relying on network. And, you know, for very, very niche roles, it may be the case that they are using their network, because it's really just that handful of people in the market, you know, who will be moving around that circle.
Yeah. There's also a question that pops up a few times. I thought I might as well ask, and that is, should we include our referees in the CV? Okay.
Again, personal choice, you know, whether you want to include or not. But I'll leave you with this thought. If you include your referee in the CV, are you prepared for a prospective employer to call your referee without informing you first? That's perhaps one. And in many situations, references are called up when the person is close to the end of the process. So you can put it in. There's nothing wrong with that, but you can also hold back and put in your referees when you're requested for it.
Yep. Very good. There's a question that is being DM'd to me, I think maybe by mistake. And the question is, which info takes precedence? So Giuliani is pushing the envelope here. She's asking the question, LinkedIn versus your CV. Which one?
Oh.
This is tough.
Both are important. I think it's a really great question, actually, Eileen, because I want to say that LinkedIn is not the same as your CV. LinkedIn is it's your professional self that you wish to show your network, and your network may not be future employers. Your network could be your customers. Your network could be your colleagues, people you meet at a networking event. For those who have gone to a couple of networking events, you might, in the past, when we were, hosting large events before, you may have encountered like, you try to register for something, or, they'll say, oh, just click on this link and then we'll be able to capture your LinkedIn profile, and we'll be able to send out the information to you through LinkedIn. So remember that LinkedIn is not your CV. So you can treat it separately. Both are equally important. Your CV will have more details. You put down the projects that you've done in your CV. You may not put the projects down in LinkedIn. Again, personal choice. I wouldn't recommend you need to. You probably want to use LinkedIn for other, purpose. Like, you may not want your customers who look at your LinkedIn profile to see all the projects that you've worked on.
Okay, so moving along, I think we've got possibly one more poll to go.
Yeah.
And so do you want me to launch the third one? I think this is...
Actually, let me touch on, are we running short on time? I'll just touch on the digital professional profile very quickly. very quickly.
I hope Robin is still there.
Sorry, Robin.
I'm just teasing you.
I'm here. No worry. I'm enjoying this very much. Yeah.
Oh, you're letting Arlene answer all the questions first.
So a quick one for those of you who, Teddy, who said you're going to create your profile, right? Go into LinkedIn and they will have some help there. But I just want to highlight a few things. Like I said, it's your digital professional self, not your CV. So to get yourself seen, maybe be more active there is helpful. At all times, of course, be authentic. Some people are not comfortable sharing, and that's okay. But, if you feel comfortable, you can share some articles, maybe from your company. You can help help your recruiting teams by sharing the jobs on LinkedIn. And use LinkedIn to, capture some of the essence of your career history, that will signal to employers you could be the one. It takes me to the next topic of AI in recruitment. Yeah, so very quickly, it's probably not a secret, but if you think about how when you are on your Facebook page and suddenly all these ads pop up, or even Instagram, how does that happen? At the back end, AI is capturing all this using predictive analytic tools to capture your interest, capture what you look at, and then they send you job ads that are relevant to you. The same way, AI is used now for employers to be able to identify who is a good match to the role based on skills, based on what they've done in the past, based on keywords in their LinkedIn profile, in their resume, any kind of digital footprint that they have on the internet. So when you are writing your CV, coming back to that, industry lingo, ensure that you've got the right keywords, so that if a company is using a technology to shortlist resumes, that's how they are going to shortlist your resume. 60% match to the job, 70% match to the job. Even for you as a job seeker, how do you know which job to apply to? LinkedIn pops that job up on your page, and that's all to do with the AI technology as well. So just a little touch on this so that I can, bring to relevance why do we use keywords and the appropriate keywords in our resume and on our LinkedIn profile. So the last poll, and then I'm done. Sorry, Arlene got to jump back there.
I know, right? It's okay. I'm used to being a caddy. Oh, wow. When was the last time you reviewed and refreshed your CV? Within the last 12 months, 1 to 2 years, more than 2 years? Cannot remember. So you see, I always have that last choice. Not sure, cannot remember. Not sure what you're talking about. No idea.
Well, while waiting for the poll to come in, let me touch on this. Why did I ask this question? Yeah. It's my personal belief that regardless whether you're actively seeking a job or not, whether you intend to send your CV out or not, it is a good practice to review your CV every 12 to 18 months. And as you review it, ask yourself, is there something that I've done in the last 18 months that I can put into my CV? Is there something that any projects that I've done in the last 18 months which I feel is noteworthy, or new responsibilities that I've been given? This tells you two things. One, constant updating means the day you decide, hey, I'm an active job seeker, you don't need to go through that whole process of trying to spend a lot of time writing a CV. But secondly, it tells you whether you are progressing in your career development. If in the last 18 months, you haven't been given additional responsibilities or things are pretty much the same status quo, you look at your CV, it's like, the same. It may be a signal for you to think about, what do I want to do next? It doesn't mean you have to change your job. It could mean going to your manager to say, hey, I'm ready for something new. I'm ready to take on more responsibilities.
I've closed the poll and I'm sharing the results. Okay, so I think everybody should be able to see the results now on screen. We've got, thank goodness, over 70% have stated that they have updated their CV in the last year, last 12 months. And then a good 10% says about 1 to 2 years. More than 2 years is around same number as well, so 12%. And there's another group of 6% who cannot remember. Yeah, so granted, right? Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Arlene. So actually, I've come to close of my session. This is just a recap on the do's.
Okay. Oh, that's it.
That's it.
Very nice. I think so number one is, can everybody just join me in giving Arlene a virtual applause, please? You can use the emotions, reactions button in Zoom. Do that. Thank you so much. Although, there's so many screens because there's over 300 of you here. So I have to move the screen. So really, thank you so much. There are more questions.